Let's now head to the United States. U.S. President Donald Trump's popularity is declining. The issues and promises that propelled him to power are now affecting his approval ratings. From immigration crackdown to economy and Epstein saga, the polls show Americans are not happy with how Trump is handling these issues. When you talk about immigration, Donald Trump's approval ratings stood at 46% when he took office. And now, over a year later, it stands at 38%, down by 8%. ICE arrests and more recently Trump's Minnesota crackdown seems to have backfired for the U.S. president. Moving on to economy. Donald Trump says U.S. economy is greatest ever. However, the Americans seem to think otherwise. The U.S. president's approval on economy has trickled down by 9%. When we compare it when his entry into the White House, the rating now stands at 34%. It is important to note that Joe Biden's approval ratings on economy were 34% when the Democratic leader left the office. Trump's overall approval rating shows a similar trend. His approval rating has tanked by 9% since January last year and currently stands at 38%. Let's talk about the ongoing Epstein saga. Trump has been named multiple times in 3 million files released by the Department of Justice. Democrats are accusing Donald Trump of trying to cover up Epstein files. A whopping 57% of respondents disapprove of Trump's administration's investigation into the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein's case. Only 24% say they approve of it. On Trump's own involvement in the Epstein crimes, 50% of Americans say they believe Trump was involved. 30% say he was not involved. Earlier this month, Trump shared a video showing former President Barack Obama and Michelle Obama as apes. It immediately sparked a volley of racism charges against the Republican leader. On the question of Donald Trump being corrupt, racist and cruel, majority of the Americans seem to agree as per the YouGov poll. Although the number remains below 50%, it is on the higher side when we look at those who believe Trump is not racist, corrupt or even cruel. Dip in popularity comes at a very crucial time for Donald Trump. The U.S. is heading for a high-stakes midterm battle later this year. Trump has time and again expressed concerns over losing upcoming midterms. Balance of power in the House of Representatives and Senate could flip if Republicans lose these elections. Trump has openly said that he will get impeached if he doesn't win the midterms. Now, according to the YouGov data, voting trends are ringing alarm bells for Republicans. 47% of the Americans say they will vote for Democrats, while 40% say they will vote for Republicans. Trump's own popularity crisis, coupled with poor favorability among Republicans, could be an early warning sign. Recent losses in mayoral elections show changing trends in American politics, and there's very little time left for pushback before November midterms. Let's now talk to our correspondent, Susan Teherani. She's joining us live from New York. Susan, it's good to see you. Hi. There's a lot of talk that is revolving around the Epstein saga because the Trump administration says, and it has been pushing back for a very long time. But do you really think Trump will handle this saga?
Well, yeah, I mean, I know that analysts say that there's a short while until November, and there is no doubt that usually when the president's approval ratings are this low and there is so much trouble, it's hard to imagine that things will turn around. But again, from now until November, a lot can happen. The problem with the Epstein files is that despite the fact that, for example, the Biden administration had these files and sat on it, they didn't release it. And it was the Trump administration that released it ultimately to the public. The manner that it was released and that it was handled by the Justice Department was just not satisfactory to many people, including those in Trump's own camp. They just butchered it. They released it in a way. It's almost like throwing someone a birthday party and then, ruining the surprise in the birthday party. The intention was there, but the execution was just absolutely diabolical. And it's just hard to imagine, just putting aside the fact that whether Trump was in it or not, just the way that it was handled has now become a main election midterm issue. I mean, who would have thought that? So that's one aspect of it. Another aspect that's very concerning, that's going to be important to watch and see whether Trump can turn it around or not. I looked at these polls, and his approval ratings among the younger generation, Gen Z, notably young men who helped him get into the White House, is at an all-time low as well. That has nothing to do with the Epstein files. That's more about the economy and healthcare. People are concerned about President Trump's big, beautiful bill and how it will impact their healthcare costs here in the United States. So again, can they get the messaging back on track? Can people feel it in their pocketbooks, their pocket checks? And then the issue of the handling of the Epstein files, that really, I mean, something's got to give at this point.
Something's got to give. Let's talk more about the Epstein files, because Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton say they are going to go before the committee, and they're ready for the questioning because they have nothing to hide. But Americans are also asking, why is Donald Trump not been questioned by the committee? What is the talk around that?
Well, we don't have Donald Trump as, someone that's really outright in the files and those emails like we do with the Clintons. I mean, you can say some of this is partisanship, some of it is political, but Bill Clinton is front and center in those photos, and there's just so much of him in there. Again, partisanship to the side. It's hard to imagine, how Donald Trump would get involved, considering the fact that Virginia Giuffre, Ghislaine Maxwell, and even Epstein himself didn't particularly name him in those files. So, that's one aspect of it. Another aspect is there's just no hard evidence that he was, in Epstein's circle to a certain extent. I mean, again, we haven't seen all the files. There is so much files left. But what we have released, I guess, that's the benefit of having Republicans in the House of Representatives. They can call the Clintons to come and testify. It's hard to imagine, though, anything is going to come out of these testimonies. And I think that's the frustrating part for many Americans and many people who are watching this saga, is at the end of the day, who's really going to be held accountable.
All right, we have several months until November for the midterm elections, but a lot is about to happen, so let's just watch out for it. Susan, it's good to see you. Thank you.